Starting the recording now. Hello and welcome to this week's platform meeting. It's May the 28th. We have meeting notes, an agenda, and I'm putting the link to that into #SUMO. There you go. And we start from last week's action items. So we had one thing about search analytics, and I wanted to give you an update on that. So we stayed a little longer after the last meeting and agreed on which metrics we actually want to collect. It turns out that almost everything we actually wanted is possible by sending virtual page views to Google Analytics. So we are hopefully going to get everything that we had before with the built-in tools of Google Analytics for search. So that's refinements, and I think dropouts and click-through rates and all of that stuff. So hopefully we'll get everything back that we used to have before we move to incremental search. Beyond that, we are also going to think we will have two additional events that you can have a look at if you're interested. One is showing what ranking a term was on a search results page. So if you look at if you look at the events, you'll be able to see like how often do people click on the first result, the second result, the third result, and for search terms. If you look at the recurring search terms, you can see how high they were in the in the listing. All right, so that's what we have planned, and it's in the current sprint. So hopefully within the next 2 weeks, we should have that data available and can start making decisions based on that again. I'm very glad about that. So yeah, that's the update on search. And then we have an action item. Everyone, please provide your roadmap proposals for Q3 to get here within the next 7 days. I'm sure you're almost or about to do that, but so far I don't have any, and we now need to actually start working on that because we need some time before the end of the quarter to finish the pre-work so we can get we can start implementing things at the beginning of the next quarter. If you don't have anything specifically like no roadmap items, we can of course keep working on our backlog, which is long enough. But I think it also makes sense to look at strategic projects to reach our 2015 goals, which are particularly about addressing known issues and increasing the customer satisfaction rate. So if you have any projects that you think would actually have an impact on that, I think that will make a great contribution to the roadmap. Yep. So anytime you're ready, just send it my way. Also, we have Whistler coming up next month, so the sooner we get started with this, the better. Because I'm guessing we won't be getting much work done in Whistler, and the next quarter starts right after that. So I'll leave that on here as an action item for the next time. Let me emphasize that this is for everyone, but especially for champions. All right, then we move on to the roundtable. The first item we have here, yeah, okay, that's again for Q3 proposals. And next item is HTTPS certificate change. Mike, do you want to give us an update on that?
So we use HTTPS SSL for all of SUMO, and we use a certificate that's called a SHA-1 certificate, and it's getting quite old. or like that SHA-1 type certificates are quite old and are actually considered insecure now. Developer editions of Firefox actually warn that SHA-1 certificates are bad, and every time I work on SUMO, it yells at me quite a bit. And additionally, in the coming months, maybe before the end of the year, browsers are going to start actively warning users that sites are insecure if they use SHA-1 certificates. So we are upgrading SUMO to use a SHA-2 certificate, which is generally considered much more secure and lots of good things. There's one downside about this. Some users cannot visit sites that use SHA-2 certificates. According to what I looked at on Google Analytics, I think it's about 0.1% of our users. In particular, it is anyone who is using an old version of Windows XP and is not using Firefox or Chrome.
So Internet Explorer.
Basically, Internet Explorer, old versions of Opera, and weird browsers that are so low that I can't name them. So
this is affecting 0.1% of the user base?
I'd say less than 0.1%. I can't tell users that are using old versions of Windows XP versus new users of Windows XP. Google Analytics can't tell me that. And only old versions of XP will be affected. So it'll be less than 0.1%.
So I'm happy to hear other opinions. My personal, so I've been aware of this SHA-1 thing for a while, and my personally a non-issue that these people, this 0.1% or whatever, they're going to have the same problem on thousands of websites come that day. So they're going to have to upgrade their computers or just not use the web basically. So I just don't think it's worth or switch to Firefox or something. Exactly. So I just think it's not something that anybody really should be worrying about.
Yeah. So
but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah. This change will happen probably next Thursday. It might happen the week after that, depending on how IT schedule goes. We don't expect any downtime for this. It should be a seamless transition. And just in case, we're going to keep the old certificate around until it expires in September, which means if anything does go wrong, we can roll back.
Hey, quick question about that, Mike. So would it be, I mean, it's probably not worth it for such a small part of our traffic, but so is there a downside to actually just keeping it around for those who cannot use SHA-2?
Yes, we can't use two types of certificates. We have to pick one or the other. And if we pick the older one, it is considered insecure now. And the risk is that a malicious actor could man-in-the-middle attack SUMO, which means they present content as SUMO in a way that appears secure but is not.
And the other risk is that a lot of people see that notice saying that the connection isn't secure and are put off by that.
No, I mean, you have two certificates, and then you fall back on the other certificate if
we
they
can't.
cannot do as.
And the primary reason we can't do that is that it would be very difficult technically in our stack to do that. Also, if we support SHA-1 still, then users are still vulnerable. Because if there's always the chance that they fall back to the old thing, then the attacker can force it to fall back to the old thing and then attack.
Oh, I didn't know about that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, then of course that's not an option. Wow, that sounds like a security attack on its own. Like if you can force a lower standard.
Well, it's just that the negotiation for which keys or which types of keys you use happens in clear text. So if we offer anything lower, then the attacker can force us to use that. Anyways, so like Mark said, the primary issue here is that people will start getting warnings if we don't do this. So we're going to do this.
Yeah, of course. All right. Thanks for that. And it looks like we don't need to update anyone on this because it shouldn't actually have an effect on anyone. Cool. Next one, Madlena, Community Hub details will come next week. Is there anything you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so basically what we want to do with this is to continue the work we have started in Q1 with the Community Hub. Right now we're testing the things that have been implemented and see if we need a new approach or if we're just going to continue with the rest of the user stories that were left. So that's why I said there will be more details next week, because we have to put a couple of user stories together and prioritize them. So I expect more information then. But yeah, Community Hub is going to continue. We'll add more cool features to it. And we want to expand it to cover Army of Awesome as well, because that is not currently covered. And that's it.
Yeah. By the way, it's currently not linked from anywhere, so the community is probably not aware that they can use it.
Yeah.
We should, like, if you would like to do something about that, we can do that. Guess like finding a bug is probably the best way to go about it.
Yes. Oh, so right now if I just paste the link, it's not going to be available. It's only for...
No, it is going to be available, but
it is. Okay.
for them it's not discoverable. Like they can't browse the
Yeah.
site and they find the new contributor hub. They will always see the old one.
Yeah. Okay, I'll paste the links here, and then maybe we can file a bug. I mean, I'll file a bug, and so we can make it more visible.
Okay. And we can also decide to just change the links on the existing ones, right? Like to go to the new contributor hub.
That'd be nice.
All right. Then we have our roadmap items. So I'm going to skip over iOS on SUMO. We are ready, but it's not going to be ready like this iOS side of it. Firefox for iOS side of it is not going to be ready before Q3, I think. I don't have actual clarification on that, but it's definitely not ready for the June 2nd event that was supposed to happen. Yeah. Anyway, so we're already on this. On that front, we've done our homework for stuff that was on the roadmap. But yeah, for desktop, there was one piece missing. It's landing this sprint. And we are going to discuss the future of Buddy Up for desktop tomorrow. Hermina was the product manager for this, or like the champion for this, and she is moving on. So she will be leaving the SUMO team within the next few weeks to go on and work with the content services team. So there is going to be a transition, and we have to decide on what to do next. But in the short term, nothing is changing. We want to actually assess the helpfulness of the screen sharing and how that's going to help us solve like address the issues that we have. So that's going to happen regardless, but the steps after that are a little bit unclear. And also what cleared up is that screen sharing will be in 38.0.5, I think it's what it's called. And also that release is actually going to happen. So there was some uncertainty around that, but both things are happening. So we can move forward as planned. Then we have the article page redesign, which is already implemented, so nothing new there. And the next one is unified ask a question page. So we have acceptance criteria for the two user stories that we're going to work on. Madlena is currently reviewing them, so we should get a thumbs up or changes to them within the next day or so. And it's actually already in the current sprint. So Mike is starting with the infrastructure work for it that we would need regardless of the acceptance criteria, and then hopefully by the time he starts work on the actual user stories, we will be done with the acceptance criteria. Any questions about that? That's the one roadmap item that we are currently working on. not, then I can actually just yeah. So if not, then we can move on to the next one, which is mobile product page redesign, for which Joni has been working on the UX already, and that's actually the next step to finalize the UX, get estimations on those user stories, and start working on the acceptance criteria. So this is the last piece of the roadmap for this quarter, and we are going to attack that with the next sprint starting in almost 2 weeks from now. And after that, we don't have anything else on the roadmap. Search quality, we already tackled that. So this is the last piece on the roadmap. And after that, well, we already have Whistler coming up. So, so it looks like we are actually pretty much on track, and should be able to finish all of the work that we had planned for this quarter before the end of the quarter, which is really nice. So that's the status of the roadmap and where we are with each item. Do we have anything that we want to discuss there? Any comments or feedback or questions or anything regarding the roadmap? Or any items on it? If not, we can talk about specific bugs. There is nothing in the list, but this would be a chance to bring something up if you have something.
I have a question. I don't have a bug filed yet, but we need to update the AAQ topics because a lot of they're old knowledge base topics. But John 99 mentioned a problem, I think regarding metrics or what the contributors use, and I don't quite understand it, so I wanted to make sure I understand it.
Oh, Jody, I think that's a great idea, and I actually forgot to put it on the agenda. I wanted to do that. I was looking at the Ask a Question flow this week, and again realized that we should do something about the items there. We have an item that's just as a simple thing. It's called tips and tricks. Like you go into the Ask a Question flow and you ask the user, so what category does your question belong into? And one of those suggested things is tips and tricks. Doesn't make any sense. It's also reflected in the data if you look at where did they actually put their question. Nobody fixed that. So yeah, I mean, we definitely have to have a look at the topics there. So do you want to? I mean, this is probably a thing to better take offline. We don't need to do that in a big group, but who do you think should be part of that discussion?
I don't know, Madalena, did you want to take part in the discussion, or I think Roland, well, I asked Roland about it, and he's okay with just me and I guess you, Kadir, deciding it, but if anyone else wants to join, I don't have anyone in mind particularly.
All right.
So
yeah, Madalena.
Yeah, I'm. Can you say again what the discussion is about?
Sure. It's about the topics and the ask question flow.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. I would like to be in there.
All right. So I'll set up a meeting between Joni, you and me, Madalena, then, and hopefully we can tackle that. So yeah, about the Ask a Question flow. So one of the things I was doing this week is think about it. It's a big piece, and I was trying to wrap my head around it. I've written down some of my thoughts on that, and I'm going to share that next week. I think it's a really important piece of the platform, but it's also a really complicated piece to evaluate. To evaluate in the sense of like, is it successful or not? And since we are actually working on improving it this quarter, that's a really important question to have an answer for. Like, how do we evaluate the success of the Ask a Question flow? And I think the metrics that we have been using so far really fall short. Um, so anyway, I'm going to share something about that hopefully next week with all of you, and I'll also bring it up in the next platform meeting next Thursday. So, anything else for the specific bug discussions? If not, then I'll just write down this action item from me. Okay. And, well, that will be it then. So, 3 minutes under the time. Cool. All right. Take care, guys. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Bye, guys. Thanks for the
Bye.
meeting.
Bye.
Bye.